I'm Big Cal and welcome to my world. Today is just a little simple video, one that I plan on doing over and over again whenever I feel the need, and basically is just like a recent pickups, I guess, video where I just go through some of the recent additions to my gaming collection. As you may know, if you know me from bigcal.co.uk before it was changed to Big Cal's World, I'm very much a gamer and I'm big into retro gaming as well. So whenever I can, I try and buy old games that I want to add to my collection. I'm not one of those that needs to buy every game to complete the collection. I just buy the ones that I actually want. Sometimes I end up with crap games. If I see something, it's like I don't really know what it is, but it looks interesting, I'll buy it. Or as with some games in my collection, they have come either with other games or when I've bought an older console, they've come with it. But anyway, this little video is just some of the recent acquisitions that I made. Well, I say recent, it's in the past 6 months basically, since I've been living in this house. I'm moving out at the weekend, and while I was sorting through some stuff, packing away already, getting prepared to do that, I went through my games and realised that I hadn't added anything that I bought while I've been here to the list that you can see on bigcalsworld.co.uk. So I figured I'll get all the games out in the collection and do a little video, and then I'll do these in the future whenever I've got a significant amount of new pickups to show you. So we'll start off with a SNES game here, Toy Story. Been after this one for a while, finally managed to get it cheap on eBay, I think. Main reason for getting this is I do have a video planned for Toy Story, for Big Cal's World. That goes for both the film and the game, as well as the second and third film and game as well. So that's one. I've also played it for a while. I've recorded a ton of game footage in preparation for the video, and it's not bad. It's not Toy Story 2 good, which is one of my favourite games, but it's okay considering, you know, 16-bit platformer. But there are some issues with it which I'll probably go over when I eventually do the video. This one is Dino Dini's Soccer. No idea who Dino Dini is. I'm assuming he's a, you know, soccer player, or football as it's known to me. I'm not a football fan. The reason I bought this is because it was the cheapest Super Nintendo game I could find at the time. And what you might not realise is that this is the cartridge that has the Big Cal's World logo on it in the video intro. So basically I bought a cheap cartridge and I stuck the logo on top of it in the shape of a label and used it for the video intro. So that's pretty much the only reason that's in my collection. The only reason I bought another game to do it with is just in case I accidentally ruined the current label on it when attaching, you know, the Big Cal's World one on and then taking it off. Luckily it's all in good condition, so that's fine. This one is for the Super Famicom, actually. Dragon Ball Z game. I can't remember what it is technically called in Japanese, but it roughly translates to Legend of the Super Saiyan or Legendary Saiyan or something like that. Basically what it is a 16-bit RPG, you know, similar to what you would expect at the time. Similar to like a Dragon Quest and Pokemon, but without capturing things, set in the Dragon Ball Z world, from the Saiyan saga all the way up to facing Frieza, and if you're lucky, becoming a Super Saiyan. It is an extraordinarily difficult game, but it is really good. I honestly think we should have more Dragon Ball Z RPGs. I love the one for the DS, the Attack of the Saiyans. I wish we'd get a sequel to that one, because they teased it at the end, because it stopped before they went to Namek. But at least this one you get to fight Frieza and the Ginyu Force and all that. It is incredibly difficult, and of course with this being in Japanese it is even more difficult. However, there are translations out there, and what I'm actually doing is this is getting posted off tomorrow to a company I found online, where they're actually going to you know, translate it for me and make it playable in my PAL region SNES. So definitely something I'm looking forward to getting translated and playing and recording footage for, and no doubt doing a video for in the future. And you'll notice it's a theme with a lot of these games is that I buy them because A, I want them, and B, because I have something in mind for the future with a video with them. Okay, moving on to some DS games. This is Chibi Robo Park Patrol on the Nintendo DS. Sequel to Chibi Robo, which was on the Nintendo GameCube, and is a somewhat rare game to get hold of, at least over in the UK. It does go for quite a bit of money, second hand and things like that, because I don't think they sold that many copies. And this one, even more difficult to get in the UK because it was an exclusive to Walmart in America and Canada. Never got a release over here, but the original DS, lovely region free, so I was able to import it over because someone mentioned it, so I had a quick look for it and found a guy on eBay selling, he had like 8 or 9 of these and was selling them extremely cheap, including postage, so I picked it up and I haven't actually played it yet. I want to, but the main reason I haven't played it is my DS is currently slightly broken. The top hinge is broke, so you have to hold up the second screen, otherwise it falls down. It makes it very difficult to play. However, it did not stop me with these two Dragon Quest games, Dragon Quest 6 and Dragon Quest 9 for the DS. The first time I've played a Dragon Quest game, although I've been interested in a while. Fantastic games. My DS broke while I was playing these, and I still managed to put in almost 100 hours in total for both of them. So there's something like 60 hours in Dragon Quest 6 and about 30 hours into Dragon Quest 9. Fantastic games, and I'm definitely a huge fan of the Dragon Quest series now. Next to those, I also got these extraordinarily cheap, brand new from Argos, the end of last year, so very happy about that. Some more handheld games. We have Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Ruby for the Game Boy Advance. Now, I never played these. When this came out, I didn't have a Game Boy Advance at the time, so I never got to play it at the time. And Fire Red, when it was out, I did have a Game Boy Color, but I bought one with Pokemon Silver at the time, and I never went back and played any of the old ones. So I managed to find these cheap on eBay and played through both of them. I think I've at least done the Elite Four on both of them. I haven't like gone any further than that to do anything extra that's afterwards, or whatever else there is after, I'm not too sure. But both are fantastic games. I'm glad that I got around to playing them. And I would definitely like to play the new released version of Ruby for the 3DS, but I don't own a 3DS. And finally, the last two handheld games I got. One is Robot Wars Metal Mayhem for the Game Boy Color. Was one of the very few games I actually owned for the Game Boy Color back in the day. I literally bought the Game Boy Color for Pokemon Silver. That's mostly what I played. I only had maybe 3 or 4 other games for it at the time. This was one of them, so I wanted to pick it up and play it again. Although I'm not too happy that it says here only for Game Boy Color, and it quite literally means that it does not work on my Super Game Boy player for the SNES yet. Other Game Boy Color games work, and Game Boy games work on it, just not this one. So a bit disappointed with that, because I know I can't record any footage if I wanted to. Although it is a pretty crappy game, to be honest. It's just nostalgia reasons, and it was cheap. Like pretty much everything I'm going to show you here today. I very rarely pay full price for current games, never mind retro games. Anyway, and the last handheld is WWF Superstars 2 for the Game Boy. Yeah, just the Game Boy, not the Game Boy Color. Basically just to add to my wrestling games collection, which I'm always after. That is the one thing that I don't want to collect every single game for every single console. However, I'm very interested in collecting all wrestling games, at least for the consoles I own, and English release only. Okay, we'll move on to the Nintendo Wii now, and we'll start off with Dragon Quest Swords. Obviously it's a Dragon Quest game, however with a bit of a difference. It's not your typical RPG like you get on the handhelds or the SNES back in the day. I'll be honest, I haven't played this one yet. Picked it up cheap and it's just gone to the pile of games that I bought. I think most of the games that I'm going to show you next I haven't really got round to playing. I've put them in and tested them to make sure they work. So if they didn't, I would take them back. But I really haven't got around to playing this at all yet, other than making sure that it just works. From what I gather, you use the Wii remote as your sword for things, blocking, striking, whatever. But it's a Dragon Quest game, so I'm definitely looking forward to playing that at some point in time. And this one is Excite Truck. If you have not played this game for the Nintendo Wii, for the love of God, go buy it now. Again, you can get it really cheap, second hand. I think, was it a launch title for the Wii in America, but not the UK, I can't remember. It was very early in the release anyway of the console. Back in the day, I just saw Excite Truck, whatever, it's probably just some boring racing game, whatever. And then I had the chance to play it. I'm not a big racing game fan. I played Mario Kart, love the hell out of Mario Kart games, but any other type of racing game, just not really bothered. But this one is truly fantastic. It is extraordinarily fun. The landscape as you're going around can change. Like hills you can get hills to appear out of nowhere to give you an extra boost or something. You do tricks through the air and earn like stars. You can get up to 5 stars. The more stars you earn, the better. Sometimes simply winning the race isn't all you need to do. Sometimes you have to get so many stars as well in the race. More stars, more levels, more vehicles to unlock, and it is just such an incredibly fun game. So I'm very glad that I was able to finally buy it and have my own copy of it. Okay, we're going to PlayStation 1 games now. This is the most recent pickup I had. It actually just came in the post today, so I literally have not had a chance to play it, and that is Rugrats in Paris, the movie. The first video game review that I did for the time BigCal.co.uk was Rugrats Search for Reptile, one of my favourite games as a kid, and there were a couple of other games for the PlayStation 1. I think maybe just this one and another one, although while searching for this to buy I did come across one that I'd never seen or heard of before, but I don't think it had an English release, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I've never played this game. I'm not really entirely sure what to expect. Looking at the back, it seems like it's a bunch of mini games rather than sort of more of a 3D platformer like Search for Reptile was. But it's something for my collection and for possible Rugrats themed videos in the future. Next up is WWF Warzone. Again, just to add to my wrestling games collection. Not the biggest fan of this game. This one and Attitude, I still don't own Attitude. I was never really a fan of them just because of, you had to do like a 16 button combination to execute a scoop slam. They definitely changed for the better when they created the grappling system. So it's in my collection anyway. Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. Don't think I've actually tested this one yet. I've played it. I'm literally having to look at the back to see which one it is. It sort of looks like a hack and slash with lightsabers. I'm guessing it's sort of similar to Star Wars the Episode 3 game, which I own on the PS2 and actually somewhat liked. I played through and completed it a while ago. It was fun. You just go around hitting things with a lightsaber. Got this because it's cheap and because through no real design of my own I've started gathering quite the large Star Wars game collection. Didn't intend to, it just sort of happened, so now if I see a Star Wars game I don't own and it's incredibly cheap, I'll pick it up. Speaking of, another one here, Star Wars Masters of Teräs Käsi. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this one is basically a 2D fighting game. with a bunch of Star Wars characters that you know and some that you probably don't. At least I didn't. I don't know if they're from, you know, any of the extended universe at the time, which is now non-existent because, you know, Disney claim it doesn't exist, or it's from some of the other TV series, the cartoons or whether they had, I don't know. But it's a 2D fighting game, and from what I've played of it to test it, not that great. But again, it was cheap, and it's another Star Wars game for my collection. Move on to the Xbox now, the original Xbox. We have Blinks 2, Masters of Time and Space. A 3D platformer, the sequel to Blinks 1, where the main, you know, unique feature in this one is that you can, you know, stop time, I think, and rewind if you make a mistake, or pause time. I haven't played it, so I don't really know, but 3D platformers are my favourite kind of game, so whenever I can find, I have a list of 3D platformers that I know about and want to own, so if I ever see one cheap, I pick it up, which is exactly what I did with that. And we have The Warriors, released on other consoles as well, I believe, but I managed to get it for 25p for the Xbox, so that's that. It's, I think, is it made by, yeah, it's made by Rockstar, you know, the same guys as GTA, and it involves going around, you know, beating people up in gangs. Sounds fun, and I think it's based on some sort of movie. Maybe one day I should watch the film as well, but it looks like an interesting game. Okay, and finally, I believe the rest are all PlayStation 2 games. The reason that I have more PlayStation 2 pickups than anything else is because they're so easy to find and so damn cheap, because the PS2 was so popular and successful, and, you know, most shops that sell games, when they do sell older systems, they tend to stop at a certain point, but the PS2 is still one of those systems where most places will still sell, you know, pre-owned games for, so it's much easier to pick up. Another 3D platformer here is Tie 2, the Tasmanian Tiger, Bush Rescue, Bush Rescue, sequel to Tie 1, obviously, a game which I do own. I basically got this, again, 3D platformer, it's the sequel to a game I already own. I haven't played it yet. We got another Dragon Ball Z game here, Dragon Ball Z Budokai, for the PlayStation 2, obviously fighting game. I owned Budokai 2, I've owned it for years for the GameCube, and then I got Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and 3 for the Nintendo Wii and loved them. And then recently Team 4-Star, the guys behind Dragon Ball Z Abridged, started doing some Let's Play videos on Dragon Ball Z games. And they got to the Budokai series, and I watched them and it's like, yeah, maybe I should pick these games up, you know, and actually play them. So got Budokai 1, and I had Budokai 2 already for the GameCube, and of course picked up Budokai 3, which most people claim is the best one. I still prefer the Tenkaichi 2 and 3 games for the Wii, but it is a fantastic game. And then continuing with Dragon Ball Z games, we have Super Dragon Ball Z. Just hold on a quick second. Yeah, I think this one was more of a traditional 2D fighter compared to what the Budokai series ended up doing to the rest of the Dragon Ball Z games. So it's more like, essentially more like an updated version of something of a Dragon Ball Z fighting game you might find on the Super Nintendo, for example. I'm not typically too great at those fighters, but I bought it because it was cheap, and for essentially the Dragon Ball Z game collection I'm also growing at the moment. I haven't played much, just, you know, messed about in it and managed a couple of moves. It's something I'll definitely look at more thoroughly in the future. Dragon Ball Z Infinite World. I don't really know what this game is. I mean, looking at the back, it seems like, you know, a fighting game similar to the Budokai. In fact, on the back here it says the best of the Budokai series. but I've yet to have a battle in it. The reason being is I've only tried to play the story mode, and at first it puts you into a 3D environment where you're just on your own running around, and I thought it was going to be something similar to Dragon Ball Z Sagas, a game which I played on the GameCube when I had a modded Wii, because it never got released over here. And I thought it was going to be like that, in a 3D environment where you open world sort of thing where you just run around. It's like a beat 'em up. Nope. You have to. It's kind of like a mix of Dragon Ball Z and Superman 64, where you have to like fly through rings or something. You have to do it in a time limit, depending on which difficulty setting you have. You have to go through more rings, and even on the easiest setting, I have yet to go through all of them to advance to the actual fight. So I have no idea. I don't know what that actually is. And I think this is the last Dragon Ball Z game. The first Budokai Tenkaichi, because the second and third were out on the Wii, but the first one was out on previous gen systems. I've only played around a little, just a couple of battles. I think I preferred Budokai 3 to the first Tenkaichi, but 2 and 3 are definitely the better ones on the Wii. Next up we have The Godfather. I own The Godfather Black Hand Edition for the Wii, and I absolutely adore that game. But I wanted, so again I'm planning on doing a video in the future on that, and I wanted the normal version, because at the time there was a normal version that came out on the Xbox, PlayStation 2 and PC, and then the next gen systems, Wii, Xbox 360 and PS3 all got their own special version with some new missions and a couple of new features. So I wanted to get the original version, and the PlayStation 2 version has a 2-disc set with a bonus DVD with a bunch of extras looking at how to make the game, interviews and things like that. It's really good, and it also comes with this little slip case and steel book as well. I'm very happy with that pickup. It's very cheap, and it's a fantastic game. So in the future I'll definitely be doing a video on the Godfather game and the Black Hand Edition for the Wii. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. It's basically like theme park, except you're building a Jurassic Park. I played for about an hour, and it was basically just a learning experience. I didn't really understand what the hell I was doing. I barely got anything done, but I think if I went on it again now, I'd understand sort of where to begin with at the start and what not to do. What I understand, it's a pretty rare game to get hold of, mainly the PC version. But console versions go for a lot of money as well, so when I saw this pretty cheap, I snagged it up for the collection, mainly. Next up we have The Punisher, based on the film. I'm guessing it was based on the sort of sequel, Punisher Warzone was it? I much prefer the 2004 version with is it Thomas Jane that plays him. Love that film. Didn't really like Warzone, but the game, pretty good, you know, first person shooter, but then you also have some like crazy kill zones. It sort of reminds me of what Sleeping Dogs did, where you know, if you put them in certain positions you could like, you know, saw the head off or something with a buzzsaw, and that's kind of sort of similar for the Punisher. It's got an interesting story to it, and the amazing reason I picked it up is because when I was at university, I was living with we were sharing accommodation with my best friend and then this guy that we'd met at uni who we became friends with, and he talked about the game all the time and how awesome it was, so picked it up for nice and cheap, and he was right, it's a really fun game. The Getaway, sort of like basically a British gangster video game. I think this was the one that has a bunch of like high profile voice actors, although they don't seem to advertise it. I would have thought they would have advertised it on the box. Christopher Walken's on there for starters, I recognised him straight away, a bunch of other people. Just played maybe the first 10 minutes just to sort of get into it, see what it was like, make sure it worked, and it's definitely one of those games I need to sit down and really put in a few hours into and get started with, because it looks like it could be really fun. It's basically sort of like an English version of Grand Theft Auto is what I kind of got, the feeling I got when I first played it. Okay, next up is Knockout Kings 2001. I'm not the biggest boxing fan around. I'll occasionally watch the big fights every now and then, but boxing games are something I've always enjoyed. Knockout Kings 2001 I own on the PlayStation 1, and it's super fun, and I didn't even realise it was on the PS2. So I picked this up for 25p just to see mainly what the difference is between the PS1 and PS2 version. And the difference is it looks better. Still as fun to play and was dirt cheap, so I'm happy. True Crime, Streets of LA. Maybe this was the one with the Christopher Walken voiceover and other people. The Getaway wasn't. I get confused because I got this and the Getaway at the same time, the same day, and I played them one after the other. And they both sort of play like Grand Theft Auto style games, just from a bit more mission based, I think, rather than free roaming. But it definitely again seems like a fun game with a somewhat interesting story, one I want to put some time into very soon. Die Hard Vendetta. I played a bit of this, and the only word I can think to describe it is garbage. That's just my first impressions of it. Was hoping it'd be fun, like the original Die Hard trilogy on the PS1, a game that I had when I was younger and loved. It's also one that I'm on the lookout to pick up again cheap. I was hoping this was going to be fun as well. Nope. And finally, the last of the pickups, again the PS2 game, and it is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Not really a fan of skateboarding or anything, but I love the games. My brother years ago was into skateboarding, so through him we ended up playing the games, and Tony Hawk's 1, 2 and 3, and I think did 4 come out on the PS1 as well, and then 3 and 4 obviously on the PS2. I was actually looking to pick up Tony Hawk's 2 for the PS1, but it seems to be the more sought after of the series, so it tends to go for about a tenner at the very least, and for an older game like that I'm not really wanting to spend £10 on it unless I have a lot of excess cash. But considering this was only like £1.50, I was happy to splurge out on it. In fact, was it even more? But I think this might have actually just been 75p. But yeah, I remember playing this version on the PlayStation 1, and it was great, and I've already played a bunch of this on the PS2, and it's also great. However, I'm guessing there's some level differences, because there was some stuff that I just really didn't remember, while other stuff I clearly did. Tony Hawk's game series, the original few, very fun. Didn't really play many after this, I don't think, but maybe in the future I'll pick them up if I get them cheap. So that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed seeing some of the games that I picked up recently, and I do hope that in the future, sooner rather than later, you will be seeing a lot more of these games as I do videos based on them, as well as the rest of my collection at some point in time. So, I'm Big Cal, thanks for watching, I'll see you again next time.